Today we are going to discuss the second part of cognitivism, which is multi-store model by Richard Atkinson and Richard Chiffre. The Atkinson-Chiffre model is a theory of human memory that was proposed by Richard Atkinson and Richard Chiffre in 1968. Both belong to the field of cognitive sciences and also psychologists. They proposed a model whereby to show that the human memory could be broken down into three different stores, memory stores. They are sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. So this particular model emphasizes on the breaking down of human memory into three levels of memories: sensory, short-term, and long-term. Previously, we have discussed short-term memory and long-term memory, but this particular model emphasizes sensory memory as constituting complete human memory. The basis of Atkinson-Chiffre model is to show that how our senses experience different things in terms of sight, hearing, touch, feeling, and taste, but only a fraction of this is remembered. So the emphasis is that how we experience vast information, but that is retained or remembered only for a fraction of time. Each store in this model is a unitary structure, which means that it is a complete structure in itself, not dependent on the processes of the other stores. Rather, each and every store has its own unique characteristics which make them complete or complete in itself, or brings about the complete totality of that particular store. And those characteristics in terms of encoding, capacity, and duration. So these three characteristics are unique and specific to all three stores of this model. Sensory memory. Duration is 1/4 to half seconds. Capacity is all sensory experiences. And encoding senses specific, that is different store for each sense. Now encoding is sense specific, which means that you have different stores specific to different senses. Short-term memory has the duration 0 to 18 seconds. Capacity 7+ or -2 items. Encoding in this process is mainly auditory. Long-term memory has the duration which is unlimited. Capacity, again, it is unlimited. And encoding mainly semantics, focuses on the meaning, but can be visual and can be auditory. Now looking at the multi-store model proposed by Atkinson and Chiffre, we have sensory memory, then we have short-term memory, and then we have long-term memory. Rehearsal here means repeated acts or repetition. Decay means displacement or failure of the process. Information is detected by sense organs and enters the sensory memory. If attended to, this information enters the short-term memory. That is why it is paid attention to. Information from the short-term memory is transferred to the long-term memory only if that information is rehearsed, that is repeated. If maintenance, rehearsal, or repetition does not occur, then information is forgotten. It is lost for the short-term memory through the process of displacement or decay. The multi-store model proposes the primacy and recency effect. That information presented at the beginning is called the primacy, and end is recency of a learning episode tends to be retained better than information presented in the middle. So it proposes that the information which is presented at the beginning, at the start, and the information which is presented at the end are likely to be retained more easily as compared to the information which is presented in between. The model supports substantial research in memory. So that area is left for researchers to further probe that whether that middle part has any relevancy or has any role to play in the process of the information, or is just the primacy or recency which contribute. This model attracted a lot of criticism as well. The first criticism is that the sensory stores are sensory systems, not memory systems, as most people think of the term memory. So that is not memory, it is rather the sensory system that the model refers to. The second feature says, the model suggests that there is nothing in between or in short-term and long-term memory. However, evidence shows that information can reside somewhere between the extremes of active attention and long-term storage. The third criticism says the model implies that there is just one short-term system and just one long-term system. In reality, there are many memory systems operating in parallel, for example, different systems for vision, language, and odor memory. Each has short-term and long-term operations. And the last point is, the Atkinson-Chiffre model does not give enough emphasis to unconscious process. So basically the focus is on the sensory system, and the other areas are not catered or they are neglected in terms of their contribution to the information processes. So to conclude, the multi-store model explains the information processing in each store as a unitary system, and though it has its limitations, yet it is useful for researchers in proposing new ways of looking at memory. Criticisms, we have seen that valid points in terms of criticism are there, but the importance of this model for providing the researchers with lot of information to look at what is the phenomena of memory and how it actually works.